my name is Aidan Baker, I'm from Townsville, and I am here today to visit Euclideon. I emailed the info staff of Euclideon as a company, and in hope that they would answer just 3 questions about Dell. Instead, they offered me to visit their company, and I understand it to be here. I've flown from Townsville just to visit the company because it is worth it.
So this is our boardroom. This is downstairs. Downstairs we have to look all grown up. So there's no cuddly dinosaurs or plastic trees or waterfalls or anything like that down here. So this is downstairs. This is the staff area. Cuddly sharks on the ceiling. And we're in disgrace. All of our chairs are different colours. That looks all wrong. Oh well. That's okay. So this is going up to where the programmers live. Oh, I think our waterfalls are off today. We must question our upbringing and wonder about our manners to visitors and not turn the waterfalls on. So this is Euclidean staff in their natural habitat. We're observing them. Let's find a staff specimen. Derek.
Hello.
This is Aidan.
My name's Derek. I've been working on the map editor, which is a new tool that we're busy developing. It's still in the early stages. Our plan was to create something that could make very large scenes. So in most programs like Maya or Max, once you hit a certain number of polys, you have to start using placeholders and it becomes very difficult. Our program doesn't have those limitations, so we're loading in very large sets of objects, and we are actually able to place huge point cloud objects in here and run at real-time frame rates without any difficulty. This program is also controlled using different things. So we're actually using the Xbox controller to navigate inside it too, along with the traditional keyboard and mouse, which is something that's a little bit more different and very convenient for content creators.
Why is it boxes?
Right now it's boxes because it's still early stages in writing the program. The boxes are very soon going to be replaced with actual real point cloud data. So we're just getting all of the widgets and things right, and then we're going to start putting in those large volumes of data that people expect this program to be dealing with.
Okay. Okay, so let's go into giraffe room. So these things here, we had a lot of trouble when we were making game type demos with 3ds Max and Maya and things like that. If you want to have a lot of detail, the sort of detail that we think does credit to the system, it's a lot of work on 3ds Max and Maya, like 3 weeks work easily to get any one of these detailed objects. But if you throw Max and Maya away and replace it with a $2 packet of blue tack, then you get a lot of detail in about 15 minutes. So these are all like, what have we got here? This is a foot, I think, and a head. At first we tried, where are we going to get all this detail from now that we can run it? But making things like this, laser scanning them in, putting them all together, and animating them, making little characters. Very similar to what they do in the movies, but this is real time. So we're talking billions and billions of little points for every single character, much higher than what you're used to in the movies, but real time and in games. I'll show you what it looks like when we've laser scanned them in and bring them onto the computer.
Hey Bruce, thank you very much for having me today. I have some questions for you.
Sure.
What's been your biggest influence?
What's been the biggest influence? I think everyone wants me to say Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or something like that. biggest influence thing that probably has formed me the most, I think it's probably old computer games. That's probably not the right answer to the question, but when I look at really, really old computer games, like what we had on old Nintendos and Commodore 64s and things like that, that was from a time when you really had to stretch your computer. You really had to do a big bunch of tricks, and you had very, very little to work with. And I found that because I was lucky, I was born in the era where I saw the beginning of computers. I remember being in kindergarten, and they said, this machine is called a computer. The government has purchased 5 of them, and they're taking them around all the schools to show you. These used to be as big as a room, but now they're portable, and we can wheel them in on a trolley. So it was good. I've been able to watch the progression. I think I'm more influenced by older things, like more old computer games, than newer things, because, I mean, these days we're lavish, we drink computer memory, but looking at the time where people had to struggle and learning the lessons back then, seeing the tricks that they did, it's like sometimes a doctor, if they've trained in Africa under really, really hard conditions, when they get back here, everything's easy and they're a really, really good doctor. And I like to see myself in that way as doing most of my development as a programmer at exactly the right time when things were hard, so that now that we're swimming in memory and processing power, things are easy, but I like to think I'm pretty good at what I do because of the time in which I was becoming a programmer.
When did you start teaching yourself programming?
When did I start teaching myself programming? Officially, I got a computer when I was 12, an Amiga 500. My parents were wealthy enough to afford such a thing, which was nice. But before then, I really, really, really wanted to program, and I didn't have a computer. I would visit cousins that did have a computer, and go, wow, this is so much fun. I love this computer thing. So I would, it probably sounds a bit desperate and pathetic, I spent a lot of time literally just taking books, like blank white paper books, drawing computer games, and then writing, if you want the little man to jump over the snail, go to page 36. If you want him to keep running forward, go to page 27. Oh, you died. So, even at a very early stage, I suppose I was just desperately wanting to get into computers and programming, and that was the poor person substitute.
That's great. How have you come to be the CEO of Euclideon?
I, for a long time, was working on unlimited detail. I made a mistake in the past. There was a game called Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo, and they kept saying, it's 3D everywhere. And it was 3D graphics that were done and then stored as 2D graphics and put on the Nintendo. I didn't understand that. I got mixed up and thought that that was real being processed 3D graphics, and thought that that was my benchmark. And on the Amiga 500, started saying, well, I've got to make a way that can process 3D graphics that look as good as this. And it was during those days that I invented octree data, only to find out later on other people had invented it. But they were older and they were professors and that sort of thing. So that was okay if you know someone who's 15. And then I invented ray tracing, only later on to also find that other people had invented that. And then I invented unlimited detail, but in that case it was like, oh, I'm in new territory now. If we have a look at... So this is me at about 19 years old. This is octree data with a ray tracing program. It's taking about 20 seconds to make a frame and then putting them all together. But in those days, there weren't 3D graphics yet. There wasn't a Nintendo 64, there wasn't a PlayStation, there wasn't anything. So I was working in this area for quite some time. I suppose while polygons and everything you know as 3D graphics were all headed in one direction, with everyone sort of together, united, I was working in a very different direction by myself. Basically, I just kept moving forward with building this sort of stuff and kept improving and improving and improving, and then realized ray tracing had no hope and had to go in a very different direction. And eventually started taking it around to see different companies. And at some stage, I bumped into the people from Mincom. Mincom was Australia's largest software company. Mm-hmm. They were 200 million a year and 1,300 employees. They were 17 offices. David Merson, the CEO of Mincom, ran it for 20 years. Very wise old man in software. Yep. And he had a look at this, and he said, this looks like it's going somewhere. Scott McTaggart, head of oil and gas at Mincom, the two of them came together. They put in the money, and we formed Euclideon. They were very good to me. They let me be the CEO, which was a big risk on their part. But after we got I think it was one of the largest grants in the country.
Yes, $2 million grant.
Yes, and we thank the government for that. Thank you, government. We work hard. We'll export lots. We'll do good. We'll make you proud.
What programming language did you learn first?
It was called Amos. I don't know why it was called Amos. I'm assuming it's DOS with Amiga at the beginning. That's my guess.
Who are your biggest role models?
To some degree, my directors, I consider my directors to be some of the very best of people. They've done a pretty good job with running Mincom. If I could do as well as them, I would be happy. I do what I can to learn from them. So, let's say the directors. Scott and David, my directors.
Yeah, where were you born? And where did you grow up?
I was born in outback New South Wales, in a little country town. I think I was born in a hospital, but it might have been a doctor's surgery. It's a pretty small town. The town is called Cuddle, but they pronounce it Cudal. Cudal. It's out near Orange.
So did you grow up there? Or?
No, I grew up in Wollongong, in New South Wales. Very nice place, nice green mountains behind it. I don't like flat things. It's good to look out the window and not just be all sky. Mountains halfway up and sky after that. It's nice.
Yeah. What schools did you go to?
I went to lots of schools. My father liked building houses. You could almost say it was his hobby.
Yeah. And
every time they build a house, they settle for a little while and then they go, let's sell it and buy a new block of land in a totally different place and build a better house. And they were always building houses. And we just kept moving around from house to house as they kept building it. So I went through a lot of schools.
Cool. What school did you graduate from? High school.
Did I graduate high school? I left in year 11.
Oh,
that's a bad thing. No one copy that example. I was very good at art.
Yep.
I actually went to a school. I won't say which one. I won't get them into trouble. And there were 31 students wanting to do computers and 30 computers. And they said, oh, you're very good at art. And you've either got the left-hand side of your brain or the right-hand side of your brain. Some people are good at computers and maths, and other people are good at art. And because you're so very, very good at art, we really feel that computers isn't the thing for you. And we put computers and art on at the same time because of the left-hand, right-hand thing, really shouldn't have much of a crossover. So they said, do art instead. And so I never got to do computers at school. Very sad.
What was your first job?
Oh, I make my parents sound like mean people. They enslaved me. No, when I was 10, My father wanted me to learn the value of hard work. So he had me work at his supermarket bagging potatoes, taking a big sack of potatoes, 6 big sacks after school, taking out potatoes, pulling them into little bags. Cinderella would cry for me if she saw me there, surrounded by potatoes on a dirty floor at that age.
Yeah.
And but it gave me the ability to say, I must get the job done, not be distracted. This has to be done, and just robotically cut out all emotion and just work, which is good. It's something that you really do need in this situation.
Yeah. What about after school, after you left at grade 11? What was your first job after that? I
worked in my father's supermarket in a little country town for about 8 years, the whole time going, I shouldn't be here. I'm supposed to be doing different things, like a displaced penguin taken from the Arctic and put in the zoo. He's in the wrong natural habitat. I didn't belong in a supermarket. I belonged running a technology company.
But when you were in high school, what were your visions that you wanted to do? What do you think that you wanted to do?
I'm glad you asked high school. If you asked like junior primary school, it'd be stuff like take over the world or run away to an island and build robots and start a robot civilization, stuff like that. But by high school, I was stabilized, and I think that I understood that those things were less possible.
If you weren't doing this, what do you think you'd be doing if you weren't running Euclideon? If you think you went a different way, where do you think you would have gone?
Helping the poor. Yeah, if it wasn't doing Euclideon, Mother Teresa's dead. I'd probably ask for the application form for the job, and I'm into that sort of thing. I think that I'm not sure the world's headed in a good direction for the future, and keeping my views out of it, I worry about a lot of things. So there is a part of me that if I wasn't doing Euclideon, I would be seriously saying, is the world perfect and headed in a wonderful direction? No. Let's look for the places in which it can be fixed, and I'd be out trying to fix those places. Yeah. I still probably will be doing that when Euclideon gets a little bit more mature, but that would be like the second part of my life outside of Euclideon.
Cool. Is there anything else you'd like to tell me about your life?
Not really. It's been a good life. It's been a relatively easy life. I think if you're someone who's inventing things, you need to have a bit of an easy life. You need to not have too much pressure. Yeah. I think if I was born in a society somewhere in the world where there was more pressure, and if I was born somewhere where homework was taking up lots of my time, where I had to do a lot more study than we have to do here in Australia, I probably wouldn't have had the time that I needed to develop as an inventor. And I think that's one of the good things about Australia. It's less stressful and more free than other countries in the world. And I think that's why, true, we have all of these inventors that then go, we'll go overseas. But the point is, if you look at it, Australia is making a lot of inventors.
Yeah, an Australian invented wireless technology.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How good is that? So now I've got some questions about Euclideon. What are your visions for the future of Euclideon?
Visions for the future of Euclideon. We stay pretty hidden away here. We don't normally tell people what's going on. I see a lot of companies that are all talk. They say, this is what we're doing in the future. And I prefer to be a little bit of the reverse, where we show things when they're done. So we don't do much speaking about the future externally.
What's Euclideon doing right now? What are the processes Euclidion's doing?
Right now, it was a bad time for us for computer games. The current consoles are ending. Not enough time for us to make the software development kit, and for companies to make games.
Yeah.
We had a few joint projects that we just plainly had to turn down, saying it doesn't work for us right now to make the SDK for the existing consoles. They've lasted longer than we thought, but with the always no one was quite sure when the next Xbox and the next PlayStation was about to come out. We've been dragging on for 2 years now.
Yeah.
We thought, well, we can't really take that risk, and it's too early to prepare for the next ones because we don't know when the next ones are coming out.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a problem at the moment for people going into the game engine business. So we decided, well, we will come back to games, and we are doing things regarding games here, but that's a surprise for the future. But we decided that we should go into another industry temporarily.
Yeah.
So the geospatial industry, that's where they drive around with laser scanners on their car, or fly around with laser scanners, or have little drones that you park your car and out come the drones like pigeons and around Stonehenge, and then you've got the scan. They were having a lot of trouble being able to run the amount of data that they're making. Yeah. If you think of the problem technology has in the world, computers are doubling in power every 2 years. They call it Moore's Law. But computer memory isn't doubling. It's not going up by a factor of 2 every 2 years. It's going up by a factor of 200. From megabytes to gigabytes is 1,000 times. From gigabytes to terabytes is another 1,000 times. We just get used to words like terabyte, and we're told new words like petabyte are on the way. So we've got, if you were to draw a graph, then memory, the amount of memory we have looks like that, and the amount of processing power we have looks like that. Yeah. So every year that goes by, there's a 100 times more problem with the amount of memory we have and our ability to process it. So we sort of looked at this and realized that the worst offender for drinking memory are industries that use laser scanners. These things are bringing in over 1 million points every second, and they drive with them down the street. We have a scan here done by Schlenker Mapping, 1,700 kilometers, the Bruce Highway in Queensland, and 3 trillion bytes. We run all of that on an ordinary laptop. And we had to build a streaming system, which is, I mean, that was one of those, do we release another video, tell the world? No, it's not that interesting to most people in the world, but very interesting to the laser scanner community. We built the world's first system that, rather than run from the RAM, could basically go searching for, because as you know, Euclidion's unlimited detail is a search algorithm. So it could just run straight from the computer's hard drive, going searching inside the hard drive. I know professors will tell you that can't be done. A hard drive opens a file, it reads the file, it closes the file. You can't jump around inside it. We've obviously found a way. That technology is being licensed now in products in the geospatial industry. And we've given that industry now the ability to run laser scans that they couldn't run before. So that's what we've been doing lately.
Do you guys have any problems with the physics due to the massive level of geometry?
I think when people talk about physics, I have a very different view when it comes to physics. I've spent some time with some of the people that make physics engines for games, and I've seen what they call physics. I've seen where you'll smash a pot, and the pot will turn into 3 pieces, and these pieces have been made beforehand, and these pieces will always smash in the same way. I've seen where we smash a glass window, and we have 4 options to choose from. These things are what we call physics in games. When we're dealing with point cloud data, those who are dealing with real physics, where they need to really have total deformability, and this is the sort of thing that's done in the sciences. They're using point cloud data, they're not using polygons. I've seen on the internet people saying, you can't do physics with point cloud data. I'm like, you only do physics with point cloud data.
But maybe on a simple level, like for the grains of dirt and things like that in the grass when they collide, because there must be there's so many and they're so high in geometry, and there must be so many calculations to calculate how they're going to react with each other. Do you have any problems with that sort of level?
There will be obviously a limit as to how many calculations you can do independently of each other, but we program differently here. It's almost like in everything we do, we view it as a mass-connected process. How much can you say, rather than do everything individually, there's like a master thing they have in common, and then there's something that separates this group from this group, and something that separates this group from this group. So we're building a map editor upstairs, the one that we showed you earlier, that's got basically unlimited power.
Yeah.
That had to be based on very different principles to what makes unlimited detail work as a search algorithm. But in everything, we still stick to the basic rule of there is sort of the maximum level of efficiency you can have by looking for what's in common, taking then what separates that and making alterations here and alterations there, and then sub-alterations here. So for physics, there are limits, of course, but I think we will do the very best that is possible within those limits. It is something that's overdue, and I think we owe it to people, and we will release such a thing at some stage.
I gotta say, I reckon, well, my idea for a demo would be just your Euclidean island in all its glory, and then because there's the massive detail, hide things in it, and be like, find every single little thing that we've put in this island. And if you can, good for you.
And if you can, you get a prize. Euclidean Island is nice. It is nice, and we liked it. We're a lot faster since then. Euclidean Island loads into memory. It loads up into the RAM. Since then, we stream everything. So we've come a long way since Euclidean Island.
Yeah.
Do we ever say, there's Euclidean Island, everyone can have a go? Maybe. We'll think about it. But it's a good idea. Have some really, really big thing that people can go searching for stuff on.
Yeah, because I think that's what people would enjoy most, rather than kicking things around, but actually trying to find something in somewhere with just so much more detail than they've ever seen before. I think that is what I would do. I think. I don't know. I'm sure you guys would come up with a lot more.
It is a good idea. It is a good idea. A very good idea.
Thank you. Are you able to easily convert all the games into point cloud data and then run them in high frames per second?
The answer would be the staff. I'm sorry, it's lunchtime. So
Yeah.
that isn't robot dinosaurs smashing the place. That's the staff in the lunchroom. Converting existing games, there would be all sorts of issues.
Yeah.
It would be hard. Converting existing graphics, we are able to take a displacement map and literally rise the displacement, turn it into real atoms. So we can take existing graphics, run them through the system, and they do improve.
Yeah.
But converting an existing game, I know people want to go, I like Euclideon, and I like whatever. I wish the two of them would go together, but it would be a lot of work for us.
Yeah. Are you guys working on anything like cloud gaming, sort of like NVIDIA Grid?
When it comes to cloud gaming, there's two roads forward. The one is where you JPEG the picture and you send it basically to the user. The problem with that system is there or isn't there latency? And that's the big question, and that's where there's a lot of debate. The other way is where you stream down the data that's necessary.
So you can see how that begins by refining the data. If you live overseas, then this is only 10 megabits a second, so you probably have a lot more bandwidth than that. This is pretty good for streaming any sort of 3D data live over the internet by literally taking the components and making it the other end. Polygons have got a bit of a problem when it comes to streaming. I mean, polygons normally are on a big JPEG, so you can't just grab just the little fragments that you want. But with point cloud data, you can grab only the differences from frame to frame, so that's pretty good.
in geospatial and medicine and mining and areas like that, this is amazing. But for games, I think it's going to need quite a bit more work. We've done some experiments that tell us this can be sped up by about 8 times. So we're going a little bit further down that direction. It'd be really nice if you could just play games without having to download them with 0 latency. So yes, sure, we're supporting the JPEG image thing. We still do that, but streaming the missing pieces and building the frames so you get really nice graphics, much higher resolutions. We're doing a lot of work in that area.
How well has the lighting, shading, and animation come along? I remember you didn't want to show the cookies until they were properly baked.
Lighting, shading, and animation. I think a lot of people are telling us they can't do lighting or shading or animation or all this sort of stuff. Everyone's telling us what we can't do, but nobody actually knows how we do what we can do. Animation. I will make a statement. When we release animation, I believe, no, I'd say I'm pretty close to certain, it will be the best animation anyone has ever seen. And I have very good reason. To make that statement. And for now, though, nothing to show you. Sorry.
So, Xavier wanted me to ask, can the Euclideon engine, the unlimited detail engine, do everything, a normal game engine can?
Scanning, looking for something a normal game engine does. I think people get a little bit mixed up when they talk about game engines. People say things like, can the Euclideon engine do lighting? Can the Euclideon engine do, weird explosion effects and things like this? This isn't part of the polygon system. These are additions, these are extras. They shouldn't be asking, can the Euclidean engine do lighting? Euclidean engine is for running little points. They should be asking, is the Euclidean engine compatible with lighting? Is it compatible with explosion effects?
Okay.
This is a very poor example, but it'll get the point across. So what we've got here is a unlimited detail tree and an unlimited detail tire. The ground is polygons, the rocket is polygons, that big block is polygons, and they're all playing happily together in the same environment. If you look at the shadow, the graphics card thinks that the unlimited detail objects are its own polygon children and has no trouble casting the shadow of the tree. So basically, we've got no trouble hybriding. People say, oh, they can't do animation, throw the thing in the rubbish bin. But even if we couldn't do animation, we would just simply hybrid the two. We'd use unlimited detail for backgrounds, and we'd use polygons for the characters. But animation's coming along just fine, so we're not going to drop back to that defense position. We're pushing forward with the animation.
Why don't you patent and sell the rights to the algorithm?
We do. There are companies that license the Euclidean algorithm.
Yeah. Okay. David asked, hi, a good question would be, how long does it take to convert the island demo into Euclidean's format on an average computer? Does it take long to...
So normally the question we get asked is, if we bring in point cloud data or polygon data, how long does it take to convert? I know point cloud data, we do a terabyte in about 20 hours, but a terabyte's pretty big.
Yeah.
That's a lot of point cloud data. And normally those figures are considered to be extremely fast. Yeah. We're pretty good at optimizing things here and making them run efficiently. Polygons, it depends on whether you're using bump maps or whether you're just using straight ordinary polygons. Yeah. I cannot remember the statistics for polygons, but once again, they're pretty good.
Thank you so much for this amazing opportunity, letting me come to your company and showing me everything that you're doing. It has been an amazing experience. Thank you so much. I'm going to go home a very happy boy.